it's a very diverse society. They speak up, and when there are public incidents now, you get mobilization rapidly, and angst and unhappiness expressed even by people in the establishment. Even the television news viewer shows her disapproval of what she is reading. So that's a new world.
Let's talk about the other superpower in the Pacific, the United States. The United States has went through a flurry of diplomatic activity, political activity over the last 3 months. The East Asian Summit, ASEAN, the proposal for this new trade area,
the Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Trans-Pacific Partnership, and a kind of military cooperation arrangement that could be described as a military base in Australia. Now the Philippines is talking about perhaps having American troops back. Do you think these moves are stabilizing the Asia-Pacific region?
We fundamentally think it's good that America is interested in Asia and in the Asia-Pacific region, and that their presence since the Second World War has been a tremendous benign influence. It's generated peace, stability, predictability, and enabled all the countries to prosper, including China. And I think it's good that America continues to take a close interest in the region, not just on security issues, but also economic issues and cultural and on a broad range of areas. But it cannot be for a few months at a time in a spasmodic style. It has to be sustained over a long period of time, really over many administrations and decades. And America has got many preoccupations around the world, so we hope on your busy plate, Asia doesn't fall off the edge. But we are naturally very happy that President Obama and Hillary Clinton have made the effort and have put Asia quite high on their agenda. We hope it will be sustained.
Is there any prospect of American troops in Singapore?
Well, we don't have, we actually have we actually host facilities in Singapore, and American ships and aircraft stop by from time to time and use those facilities. That's different from having a naval base.
And a naval base would be a bridge too far?
A naval base would be twice as big as Singapore. It can't be done.
You reclaim lots of land to build casinos, you could probably build a naval base. But let me ask you about the Chinese reaction, though. The Chinese reaction to this same flurry of diplomacy and these new agreements has been somewhat cautious, in some cases hostile.
The official position is that they are very happy to have more members join the East Asia Summit, and America is welcome to join, and Russia is welcome to join, and Europe is welcome to join as well, and the more the merrier.
That's the official position.
Their private position probably is awareness. They are watching. They think that there will be people in America who are not quite happy that China is prospering and would like to hinder that process. And they will not want to let those people succeed. So I think that there's cooperation, but there's also watchfulness on both sides.
Do you think that Barack Obama has pursued a successful foreign policy in the part of the world you care about?
I think he has put a lot of attention on it, and the outcome has been constructive. These are issues which need long-term management, and the most important item to be managed is America's relationship with China. And it hasn't come to blows, although there have been tensions, and that's a positive.
Do you worry about the rise of protectionism? If you listen to in the United States, President Obama's State of the Union, he had a few tough things to say about China. But if you listen to Mitt Romney, who until yesterday was the putative Republican nominee, he had some very tough things to say about China, particularly unusual coming from a Republican. Does listening to all that for a place like Singapore, which so depends on free trade, scare you?
Some of it is election year rhetoric in America, but I think the general mood in America on free trade has been negative for some time because of uncertainties brought on by globalization, because workers haven't seen an upside in terms of their wages. They're worried that their jobs are insecure and they could get retrenched because industries may move offshore and jobs are not being created in America in the same way in a very large scale as they used to When you make an iPhone, for example, the pieces come from all over the world. They are not made in America. So that's an underlying mood which worries us and which I think constrains the administration when it comes to free trade. And it's one of the reasons why we're not getting anywhere with the Doha round under the WTO. It's perhaps also the reason why the administration has decided to proceed on this Trans-Pacific Partnership as their one significant trade initiative. We hope they persevere and they don't take too hard a line and are able to come up with a constructive outcome.
But when you look at the outlook for the next few years, do you feel that you will be able to continue to grow and prosper in Asia, in a booming Asia? What keeps you up at night?
Well, I think Asia will boom. There will be ups and downs. We'll be affected by Europe if Europe goes bump in the night. But if it doesn't, well, there's a certain momentum in the countries in China, in India, in Southeast Asia, which will help to carry us forward. What worries us in Singapore is not that the world will not prosper, but in the ups and downs of the world, a small boat like Singapore, with not very much room to maneuver, can you make sure that every time you catch a wave head on and you are not flipped over? Because once you are flipped over, that's it.
When you look at the American debate, one of the things that is often talked about is this issue of outsourcing, moving factories offshore. And if you look through the specifics, you often find companies that are trying to figure out where to locate. And Asian governments will often offer very rich inducements to these companies to move their factories to Asia, including the Singapore government.
So do American state governments.
So you think you're just playing the same game that Americans...
We are trying not to play the same game. My attitude is, I'm prepared to forgive you taxes if you come, but I won't give you money if you lose money. So I'm prepared, if you have powerful, if you're in such great demand, I may not be able to levy my full pound of flesh on you, but I see no reason why I should give you money to come to Singapore through some grant or subsidy or some other scheme, when in fact you're not creating economic value for Singapore.
What would you advise?
So some projects we'd like to have, but we have to decide, well, we have decided this is how generous we are able to be, and they've gone elsewhere. And our people pursuing investments, the Economic Development Board, are sometimes disappointed, but I think there has to be a limit. Otherwise you're taken to the cleaners.
What would you advise President Obama if he's trying to revive manufacturing? One of the things Asian countries have done very successfully has been to adopt industrial policies, where the state, in some way or the other, provides help, incentives, tax subsidies of various kinds to industries, and it's been quite successful. Should America have a more a kind of nationally planned industrial policy?
No, I don't think I would describe it as industrial policy. I would describe it as investing in the preconditions to enable a wide range of industries to develop, take root, and some of them to prosper. So invest in education, invest in infrastructure, invest in building up a financial system which can support your manufacturing activities. Make sure your government is clean and efficient and forward-looking so that you anticipate the next bump in the road and smooth the road for your industries. Then the industries will prosper. But you need to have hard-working people, well-trained people, disciplined people, unions who understand what this is about and will work with employers to bring this about. And that is a work of several administrations.
The World Economic Forum has this list of global risks, and I was struck by the fact that the number one risk on its list is rising inequality. And it's happening, of course, in the United States, where there's this big debate.
All over the world.
But it's happening everywhere. And I was wondering if you would reflect on what it means and what you can do about it, because you yourself have had to deal with this in Singapore, where you have this long tradition of paying public servants very well, which is why you have one of the lowest levels of corruption in the world. But
it's one of the reasons.
But one of the things that you have had to do was, in response to some public outcry, you have had to cut the salaries of public sector employees, including your own.
No, only of the ministers, not of the civil servants.
So why did you do it?
Well, it became an issue during the elections. The reasons for needing to pay people well are pay people properly are well established, because you must pay commensurate with the responsibility of the job and commensurate with the quality of the person you're looking for to do that job. And the job is vital, because you make a wrong decision, it's billions of dollars, and you put the wrong man in, that's a disaster. And anybody who comes in must make a calculation, must think what are the financial implications, not just for him, but for his wife and children or spouse and children. But when you're talking about salaries which are $1 million or $2 million, to the man in the street earning a few $1,000s a month, it's an incomprehensible sum. I mean, it's defensible, but he cannot wrap his mind around it. So it became an issue in the elections, and after the elections I appointed a committee to review it and look at it dispassionately. And they decided that the principles were sound. You have to pay competitively, but they recommended a different benchmark and a different number, and we've accepted that. I don't think it will be the last word on the matter, but it's a very difficult issue, because it is important to get the right quality of people into government.
What do you do about inequality in Singapore? You have your top people are world class, they make millions and millions of dollars. At the bottom, your workers are facing pressures from India, China, Bangladesh.
It is a problem, like it is in India and China, like it is in every other country. First of all, we make sure that everybody gets a very good education. So no matter which school you go to, you get a first-class education, and if you are bright and able, you have every chance of rising all the way to the top, never mind what your background is. Secondly, through our public housing program, through our other public subsidies, particularly on healthcare and education, we make sure that everybody starts with some chips in life. You don't start zero, down and out. So if you are poor in Singapore, it's no fun, but I think you are less badly off than if you were poor nearly anywhere else in the world, including in the United States. Thirdly, I think that we have to encourage people to try their best to not be satisfied with where they are, but to upgrade themselves. Not just in school or while studying, but all their lives. So because you may be 30, 40 years old, but unless you can keep current and unless you can keep on doing something new and something which others can't do, it's going to be difficult to sustain a standard of living which is growing up year by year. But on top of the self-reliance message, there also has to be a certain amount of social equality and redistribution. Redistribution in ways which do not encourage people to become dependent, self-dependent, reliant on the state, and to give up trying. And we've been trying different ways. One of the things which we have done is a workfare scheme. It's like what you call earned income tax credit in America. In other words, if you work and your income is low, you get a top-up from the government, a certain percentage. Some goes in cash, some goes into your pension fund to pay for your future retirement. And so the more you work, the more you get. And I think we need more schemes like that.
Explain to us what happened in the last Singapore elections, because this is a country which has had enormous rise in standard of living, and yet there was, you yourself called it a watershed. The government got a historically low percent. The reason I ask is because many people from the outside look and say, the problem is the political system is too closed. You need to open up more. You need more political openness and competition.
Well, if only that it was so simple. I think no society is static. Every society changes. The population changes. New generations have new experiences, new aspirations. In an earlier stage, the economy grew very rapidly and very evenly. And everybody could see in 5 years, your salaries, incomes would go up 20, 30%, effortlessly, almost. Now, it's slower and it's less even. And in the last 5 years before the elections, we went through a global crisis. We came out better than many other countries, but nevertheless, it was a bumpy ride for quite a number of Singaporeans. And I think that caused, and the rapid changes in our society as well as around us, caused a certain unease and disquiet among some segments of the population, and it showed in the votes. Social media played a part, global mood of dissatisfaction with the status quo, I think, had some part to play. We are part of an interconnected world, and you look at the way the Occupy movements went all around the world. We didn't have much of an Occupy movement in Singapore, but we are not immune from these currents.
Do you